314 Photos, promoting a positive image of St. Louis. That's next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, welcome to City Corner, and today we're going to meet a man who's involved in promoting a positive image of St. Louis through photographs. We want to welcome Chris Kuban. He's the owner and operator of Chemistry Multimedia. Hi Chris, welcome to the show.
Good morning, thank you for having me here today.
You're welcome. So what do you care about promoting a positive image of St. Louis?
You know, I think it comes to all of us have to take that responsibility. I travel nationally for my company, Chemistry Multimedia, and all over the country when someone hears that you're from St. Louis, they're like, oh, you're from St. Louis. And we kind of have a negative impression across the country. So all of us have to take that responsibility to take charge and promote a positive St. Louis.
And I guess what you're sort of referring to is the aftermath of what happened in Ferguson, although those issues go deeper than that, but more recently, that's sort of what you're referring to.
Well, yeah, and then always, I mean, coming from a city that has dwindled down in size, that has dwindled down over the years in our national scale from being a world-class airport to an airport that it's hard sometimes to get a flight out of to certain areas around the country. We need to really take it upon ourselves to promote a positive St. Louis. And my company, Chemistry Multimedia, I started it in 2009. And the premise of that company is really to focus on media relations and PR, event management, and then also video production. And through my business, I've worked mostly in the veteran industry, working with veterans groups like the Gary Sinise Foundation and Little Patriots Embraced over the last 5 years. And it's been a great opportunity to work with veterans groups around the country and to help the most severely injured veterans as well as those that have children in the military. But 314 Photos is something that our company started about 1.5 years ago in memory of my father, Larry Kuban, who was really a professional photographer for over 50 years here in St. Louis. And my dad had, I mean, everyone I think in St. Louis knows who my uncle is, Bob Kuban, who is the famous band leader
right.
and orchestra leader that went on Dick Clark's bandstand for the #1 hit song called The Cheater.
Right.
And back in 1966, my dad was Bob's younger brother and had access to everything that happened in St. Louis. So I kind of think I like to take, I guess my experience in photography kind of came from my dad. And my dad's experience in photography really came from what happened in St. Louis. And all of from the music scene in the 1960s, from Ike and Tina Turner to Chuck Berry to James Brown to everyone that came through St. Louis. And we're going to see some of those photos in just a little bit. But even photos that are the real, true, iconic images of St. Louis, like the history of St. Louis. The photo that we see right here just happens to be a photo of them flying in home plate to the old Busch Stadium from the old Sportsman's Park in the Camwex traffic copter. And this is something to where there was only a handful of photographers on the stadium grounds when this helicopter landed and brought in home plate. So we are really trying to promote the positives of the history of St. Louis as well as the positives of the beauty of St. Louis. And who better to do that than those that see St. Louis differently through the lens of a camera? And we've opened up the concept, 314photos.com, to about a dozen photographers across St. Louis and others that have come to St. Louis and have left St. Louis but have just really amazing shots. So we focus on those iconic images. So you have obviously the Arch and the Zoo and the Tower Grove Park and a lot of really amazing places, Lomont Sculpture Park, the wineries. St. Louis as a region has some amazing attractions. The Eagles here in the fall, or here in the wintertime.
Right.
There's some amazing photographs that just got taken on the Mississippi River of the Eagles. And our goal is to try and promote this through gallery-style artwork.
Now, right now, it's just a website.
It is a website, but what we're doing is we're printing off images like this. Our goal is to go to fairs and art fairs and county fairs and different types of community organizations and say, this is how we envision promoting St. Louis, is the images of the arch on your wall at home when you entertain your guests, the images of Shaw's Gardens, or of those iconic architectural images that just make St. Louis a really cool place to live.
So, do you want the website to be a destination point for whom?
Well, St. Louis, anybody that wants to buy images of St. Louis, if you live in New York, if you live in LA, these are great photos to put on your wall. They're mounted. Once you buy them on the website at 314photos.com, we actually print, mount, pack, and ship each of these items directly to you. So a lot of my friends here in St. Louis have artwork on their wall of New York or Los Angeles or other areas of the country. So we want people to be proud that they're from St. Louis and have artwork that's centric to their past in living here.
So we're going to look at some images later in the program from some of the artists you feature now, including some of your dad's work, which has sort of inspired all this.
Exactly.
How is, just generally though, Chris, how has photography changed for the better or the worse these days when everybody has a cell phone or an iPhone or whatever it might be? Has that changed photography?
Well, I think everyone thinks that they're a photographer these days.
That's what I was getting
and
at.
that's fine because everyone does have a cell phone. But we've realized through this process, there's some amazing photographers here in St. Louis that are focused on iPhone photography, where they add an extra lens to their camera and have shot some incredible photos of St. Louis. However, when you get to the gallery quality images, those images that you shoot from your cell phone can really only be blown up to about an 8x10. And once you get bigger than that, such as these 20x20s, the images start to get a little grainy. So the sizes that we offer on our website are, you can buy an 8-inch by 8-inch iconic image of St. Louis, or you can buy a 30-inch by 40-inch, which is kind of a poster size. But they're all going to be mounted on high-quality prints that you can easily put on your wall and showcase for decades to come.
Okay. So we're going to look at some of your dad's pictures. Obviously, he did not use an iPhone. Because he took pictures when? Mostly would it be 60s and 70s?
Well,
something?
60s, 70s, and 80s, and he was a professional photographer for over 30 years.
Tell me just a little bit about your dad.
He born and raised in St. Louis, very modest family. They were poor growing up, and having a camera was kind of a luxury in the 60s. And because of my uncle's fame, he had access to a lot of things that happened in St. Louis. And he shot with a number of things, and on my shelves at home, I have all of his old antique cameras that are really impressive to take a look at. But when you think of photography coming from initially an old piece of contact paper that you put behind a camera and you do one image at a time and you have to make sure that that picture is good, to what it comes to now, where you can take thousands of images digitally and then crop out or make the best image possible.
Photoshop and all the technical things they can do is amazing.
It's amazing.
It'd be interesting if your dad was still around to talk to him about how that's changed.
Yeah.
But was there anything more you want to say about this one? This was at the old Busch Stadium, you saying, the Camo
Yeah, this was the first day that the Camo X traffic copter actually brought in the home plate from the old stadium, the Sportsman's Park. So this is very iconic, St. Louis. Like I said, there's another photo we have that has, I think there was only 6 photographers on the ground that day with their cameras. And it really showcases the era and just an amazing, I mean, you can see the telephone numbers, even the old telephone numbers on the helicopter.
PE10199.
Yep.
People wouldn't even know what that meant today, would they?
You're absolutely right.
What have we got here?
Okay, so this is one of the very first baseball games at the old Busch Stadium. And my dad was in the crowd that day and decided to take this photo. And these were actually taken on a Hasselblad camera. And a Hasselblad's the old format cameras that a lot of people, actually not many people shoot with a Hasselblad anymore, but at the time it was kind of like the Rolls Royce of cameras.
Was it probably a big camera?
It was a pretty big camera, yeah. It had the big lenses on it, and it was the old, I think, 220 type of film.
And of course, back in your dad's day, I mean, there was color photography, but really serious photographers for a long time only shot black and white. Not so true anymore, but.
Exactly, and we do have some color photographs, but these ones I think are really cool, and I love this picture because it kind of goes to what we're doing right now with the Ebony Eyes Foundation. We're going to talk about in just a little bit, but you think of 1966. Selma just came out. A lot of the images around the country was changing socially.
Right.
And to think that Falstaff Beer had a tagline to generate business, their tagline was, because we're all in this together.
We could use that today, couldn't we?
Absolutely, and that was back in the late 1960s. So, I mean, St. Louis has been a time of change and struggle and overcoming that struggle, and it's kind of like what we have to do now through promoting a positive image of our history and then where we want to go from here.
And I see a theme in your dad's work already. Was he a big sports fan?
Not necessarily.
Really?
My dad had access to a couple of cool things that happened in St. Louis. He wasn't necessarily a sports fan, but he got to go to some cool sports events here in St. Louis.
Let's take a look at another one of your dad's photographs, if I can do it without knocking them over. Here we go. There's your uncle.
Yeah, the Bob Kuban Band. Obviously, most people know him from his #1 hit song, and he played here in St. Louis. He was a teacher at DeBerg High School, and I always get when I meet people that knew him or that still know him, they're like, your uncle used to teach me at DeBerg High School, or some of the women were like, we used to date him, or but he was kind of an iconic image in St. Louis for so long at the teen towns and Gaslight Square and Club Imperial, and they would play all the time. And his band was was really iconic. And with Walter Scott being the lead singer, they just an amazing history behind him and my uncle's band, and how my uncle stayed in St. Louis instead of going national, even after he was on Dick Clark's Bandstand.
Yeah, interesting guy. You know, I've interviewed him at least once on the radio on Cityscape at St. Louis Public Radio, and he has some stories to tell. I mean, can you imagine being involved in rock music back in the 60s? I mean, you saw a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, with Chuck Berry and James Brown and Ike and Tina Turner, and some of those pictures we're going to see next, because that was really the up-and-coming, anybody that came into fruition at that time. And KC95 actually started in 1967. They're coming up on their 50 years here in the next couple of years of being around St. Louis. And KC95 was really kingmakers at the time, to where if you were on KC95, they made you regionally and nationally.
Yeah. You probably know Ron Ells too, Johnny Rabbit.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So some of these, the next couple photos, and I mean, we have photos of my uncle actually being on the Admiral. I mean, I remember as a young kid going on the Admiral and seeing my uncle.
Yeah, he had a regular gig, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Every weekend he played on the Admiral. And these photos, I've had people come to us that were in the Spirit of St. Louis band, or that were in some of the other bands around St. Louis that my dad had photos of. And they bought photos because they were in those photos back in 1967, 1968. So it's kind of cool to walk down memory lane and see all these photos at 314photos.com.
Well, we're going to take a break right now and come back and walk down memory lane with you just a little bit more.
Perfect.
Okay? We're talking about 314, Photos 314, about presenting St. Louis in a positive light and preserving memories and looking to the future too, I guess. Right, Chris?
Definitely.
All of that. So we'll be back with more after this.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes twice a day. They have the time.
Over 13 million people are affected by famine, war, and drought in the Horn of Africa.
Make a simple text donation of $10.
But do more than donate. Forward the facts.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. And today we're talking about one man's effort to promote St. Louis in a positive way, which he's doing through something he calls Photos 314. Chris Kuban owns and operates Chemistry Multimedia, which is a PR firm, Chris, like you said before. And so you came up with this Photos 314 inspired by your dad, Larry, who was a professional photographer here in St. Louis for a long time.
Yeah, 314photos.com is basically started after my dad died. I inherited just boxes and boxes of old negatives. And some people, I think, after they see that, the time that it would take to go through all those negatives, they would just throw those negatives in the trash. But I knew my dad was a professional photographer for over 50 years and had some amazing photographs of St. Louis. And his dream was always to sell some of his photography. And he wasn't necessarily a business person, so he didn't really know how to do that. He'd sell a couple of his famous Ike and Tina Turner pictures for $400 or $500, but it would be one pop at a time or be a long time in between. So we went through, my company, Chemistry Multimedia, which is a public relations and media firm, we went through all of his photographs and kind of categorized them, logged them, and found some amazing photographs.
Were you surprised? I mean, maybe did you not realize the body of your dad's work?
Well, I think I was more surprised at all the musical artists that he had that came through St. Louis. And some of the photos I had seen in the past, and some of them I had never seen. We have one right here of Tony Bennett, who is a young Tony Bennett, when he came through St. Louis in the mid-1960s. And there's a whole series of these Tony Bennett photos of him taking off his tie and him taking off his jacket. And there's a series of about 3 or 4 photos that my dad just captured him at the right place at the right time. And it's just an awesome series of photographs.
Amazing. He's still going strong now with Lady Gaga. Isn't that crazy?
It is. I mean, 50 years later and still making amazing music with new artists.
Did you ever talk to your dad? Did he ever have any stories? You know, I'm sure he didn't get a chance to talk to everybody he photographed, but maybe sometimes he did. Did he ever talk about, this happened to me one time with so-and-so?
Well, he also was the professional photographer at Merrimack Community College for almost 30 years. And there was a lot of people that came through the theater there. The MASH stars came one day, and he was excited and had a couple autographed photos that he had taken of some of the MASH stars. I mean, there was a lot of different people that he was able to take photographs of, but I think his pride and joy were the ones that he took of Ike and Tina Turner, which,
speaking of,
these were live on the air back in 1967 on KC95. So it was when KC95, and who would have thought that KC95 would have had Ike and Tina Turner on?
Right, yeah.
But these are really cool photos. This one in particular, we decided to use a metallic finish when we printed off the photos. So it has a real sheen on it, a glare that really makes that silver in the mic stand and the silver in her dress really stand out.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot. Look how good they look.
And there's a couple of them here. You can see the on-air live KC95 and the dress that she's wearing, Tina Turner, obviously. There's not a lot to the dress because it's a fishnet dress. And so that was something my dad, shooting that, has always talked about the time he shot Tina Turner, where she was wearing not much there.
She's sort of known for that. I think she
still
still
today,
is.
exactly, yes.
Bless her soul.
And of course, James Brown. I mean, you got the go-go dancers in the back, and James Brown that came through St. Louis. There's a couple amazing photographs of James Brown just sitting back in a chair that was a classic mid-century chair that you'll probably never find these days, but it was a beautiful shot of him singing.
So, Chris, did you inherit any of your dad's photography skills?
You know, I did. I picked up, as part of my business, Chemistry Multimedia, we do a lot of video production. And I think my video skills came a lot from the photography skills that I learned growing up, and knowing how to frame a shot, knowing how to create the color and the white balance. And
I was just going to say the go-go dancer makes this shot, in my opinion. Just how that picks up, the light picks up on her costume. That's really great.
A lot of times, yeah, the background. And my firm, we mostly shoot with Canons. So we have Canon DSLRs, 5D Mark IIIs, and those types of cameras. And for some of your audience, are going to know kind of what that is. But they're the very high-end digital cameras. Canon and Nikon, they all have a range of cameras, and if you're just getting into photography, even the T3Is or the T5Is are a good camera to get started with.
Well, what are we looking at here?
This is a burnt-out building, the St. Louis City Fire Department, and their old fire trucks in the 1960s. He had several shots of, he was also a volunteer with the Red Cross, so he got to go to a lot of these fires and shoot pictures and help displaced workers or employees or residents. So this is one of the images of a fire that was going on.
And you know, if you like, I happen to love photographs of derelict buildings or buildings in distress, and St. Louis certainly has beautiful old buildings that make great subjects.
Exactly.
For that. It really does.
Well, in addition to my father's photos, we have photos from a lot of different photographers in St. Louis, and we're always looking for more. So if you're a photographer and have some great images, I mean, I encourage you, please go to 314photos.com and submit your photographs. We'd love to add them to the site. And we're also looking for photos like this one, which is a welder, which is a very unique, I think, position to shoot this image. But we have pictures of architecture in St. Louis and of the brick homes and just the amazing architecture. There's not far from where we are right now, there's a church that years ago, the roof, the whole church had burned down, but the structure stayed. So there's vines growing on it, and it just makes for some amazing photography.
You know, you mentioned where we are right now. I should mention, too, we're in Grand Center because our studios at STL TV are currently going under some really great renovations set-wise, so you'll notice some set improvements next time we're back. So we're temporarily, for this show, using the community room at St. Louis Public Radio on Olive, right around the corner from the Fox. So we want to thank them for that, and that's why we're here.
Well, talking about the Fox Theater, this picture specifically at the bottom is of the lobby of the Fox Theater through the eyes of the railing on one of the second or third floors.
Okay, let me point out that now we've switched to color photographs, so these are no longer your dad Larry's photographs. Let's make that point again, that it was because of his career that inspired you sort of to do this photo through 314.
About a year ago, I started going through all my dad's, all of his negatives and seeing what we had, and realizing that his goal was always to sell his images. And I know a lot of other creative people that are not necessarily business people. So I wanted to create an opportunity where photographers and creative people could sell their work online. So we've created a structure to where every photograph that's sold online by a photographer, they get a commission based off of all of those images that are sold.
And what a great service for photographers, because I would think that's not the easiest profession to be in and to sell your work.
Well, and everyone thinks they're a photographer these days, so they might take pictures and put them up on Facebook and not know that they have something of value. And what we're trying to do here is allow people to buy these amazing images. This one here is of Tower Grove Park in the wintertime where the fountain actually froze.
Wow.
And it's a really cool image. It's kind of a distressed image of the fountain, but it's still going with the ice on it.
Let's take a look at a couple of more.
The top one here is of Fox Theater in the rain. And we have some amazing photographers. We have about 15 photographers now that have put their work up on 314photos.com. This one in the bottom is of downtown St. Louis, and just at nighttime. And it's a time lapse, or kind of a bulb type of exposure to where you can see the lights.
Chris, do you actually choose the photographers that you put on your website? I mean, can any photographer post there, or do you have some parameters or qualifications that you look at?
Well, we have a vetting process, and we have a contract for those that want to put their photos up there. And we have extended our olive branch out to try and bring anybody and anyone that's a photographer in St. Louis. We want your photos on this website. If you live in North St. Louis, West County, downtown St. Louis, we want to showcase all of what St. Louis has to offer. And obviously, we get a lot of photos of the Arch. We get a lot of photos of Shaw's Gardens.
But you mentioned the region, too, so you might be interested in something from St. Charles County or Alton, Illinois, maybe, or
Definitely.
Belleville or something?
Yeah, the entire region, I think we could go out about 150 miles, maybe a little further. There's an old-fashioned covered bridge down south that a lot of the advanced photographers will go down there specifically to shoot it because it makes for a really good photo. And we do vet the photos because, obviously, we don't want 1,000 images of the Arch. But but everyone has a different perspective, like this one that we're seeing here.
Yeah, it took me a second to figure out what that was.
It's a very unique image of the arch, and that was taken by Mark Prolegi, and just amazing, amazing perspective.
It makes me think about Mardi Gras. I don't know.
Well, this weekend is Mardi Gras, so it's a great image of Shaw's Gardens, and that's a particular image that a lot of people do have. What we are doing a photo contest right now in conjunction.
Is that the Ebony Eyes Education Foundation?
When we started this, we wanted to open it up and bring African American community, the Bosnian community, the Asian community, everyone together to show us how they see their own community. And so we partnered with Ebony Eyes Education Foundation, and the whole goal is that a portion of the proceeds of every photo that we sell goes to a Kids for Camera program. And our goal is to give digital cameras to kids inside the inner city of St. Louis so they can take this up if it's a passion of theirs. So if you go to ebonyeyes.org, Ebony is spelled with an I on the end instead of Y, so ebonyeyes.org. You can actually submit your photographs, and we hope to get people submitting their photographs from students that will then put those photos into 314photos.com.
Just a few seconds left, Chris. Well, you've got this website up and running. So are you happy with the way it's going?
Well, obviously, we'd like to have more people buy these images and put them up, showcase them on their wall. We're looking for galleries to put these images in. We're looking for art shows, or if anybody has an idea of where they think we should put these photos, please let us know. Go to 314photos.com. And my company, Chemistry Multimedia, which oversees this project, we're very aggressively expanding here in St. Louis. We have a couple national clients, but our goal is to help St. Louis grow by showcasing clients in public relations and marketing, event management, and then also video production. So it all ties together in promoting a positive image of St. Louis and a positive image of our client.
Why do you think photography can do that so well?
Well, photography, you really can see it, you can experience it, you can imagine it. You can, I mean, if it's a cold day and you see snow on the ground, you almost feel the chills going up your arms.
Photos 314. Chris Kuban, thanks so much for being here. We'll have some information come up on the screen. Continued success. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
You bet. I'm Steve Potter. That's all the time we have for this City Corner. Thanks for watching. Join us next time. Bye.